Townhouse call to order. Dr. Thompson, we appreciate everyone being here. After our announcements, we're going to have Mr. Darby lead us in the prayer, and we'll have Mr. Dane lead us in the pledge. Mr. Downing.
Thank you, President Smith. We have quite a few and several praises. Bossier High teacher Crystal Parrish had a kidney transplant in June. She is doing well. She plans to work in her classroom this weekend. Terry Finkley, the TL Roads clerical aide who donated the kidney to Crystal, is recovering very well. Says she would do it all over again. So praise for that. Mary Denman, our HR specialist, retirement specialist, continues to undergo cancer treatment. Ronnie Coker, retired athletic coordinator from Airline, is starting his second round of chemo. Dana Nekbatal, Airline high school teacher, just finished radiation. She's still undergoing chemo for lung cancer. Our receptionist at the central office, Melinda Hollander, her mother passed away last weekend. Please keep that family in your prayers. And our own Coach Brotherton and his wife, Billy Joe, continue to work towards his recovery after back surgery. So those and many others, always along with those that have been affected by COVID, indirectly and directly.
Please bow your head. Father God, first and foremost, we want to say thank you for a day that we have never seen before. Father God, we ask that you will heal those that the names have been called, also the ones that we don't know of. We ask that you will walk into their room, Father God, lift up their spirit, bless their family, lead and guide them in the way that you would have them to go. And Father God, we ask that you bless each family here tonight. We ask that you will help us to make a decision that what you want us to make, Father God. Not our will, but let it be your will. And we ask that you touch each and every one in here tonight, touch our hearts. And Father God, let us know that it's not about us, but it's about the people. In your name, we do pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Swearing in of Robert Bertrand, newly elected District 11 Board appointee, Board Member District 11.
Ms. Jill Sessions is here to conduct the ceremony. Thank you, Ms. Sessions.
Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Robert Bertrand,
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of this state,
and the Constitution and laws of this state,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all duties incumbent upon me
as Bossier Parish School Board member
as Bossier Parish School Board member
for
District 11,
according to the best of my ability
according to the best of my ability
and understanding,
and understanding,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sessions.
I have my wife here, and friends. Catherine. First of all, I'd just like to thank my wife, Braden, and all of my family and all the friends that supported me and will continue to support me as I take on this responsibility of serving Bossier Parish schools. Then I'd like to thank my parents who taught me it is not only a privilege to serve your community, but it is a responsibility that we be involved. So to my mom and dad, although they can't be with us here tonight, thanks for not just uttering words, but for teaching me by the example and the way you live your lives. Superintendent Downey, President Smith, fellow board members, thank all of you. I promise you I will never take for granted the opportunity to serve this board and the children of Bossier Parish. I will always serve with the goals of continuing to providing a healthy work environment for all its employees, a healthy learning environment with all the tools available to our students in order that the children of Bossier Parish have every opportunity to obtain a quality education so they too can turn their dreams into realities. Again, I humbly thank you for this opportunity. I look forward to working with you all, but most I look forward to learning from you all. Now, let the work continue.
Bertrand, can you recite the oath from memory at this time?
1.03, approval of the minutes of the regular session of the board for June 3rd. Moved by Mr. Wiggins. Second by Mr. Bullard. Please vote. Motion passes. 1.04, approval of the minutes of the special session of the board for June 10th, 2021. Moved by Mr. Bullard, second by Mr. Slack. Please vote. Motion passes. 1.05, approval of the agenda for the regular session of the board for July 15th, 2021. So moved. Moved by Mr. Brotherton. Second by Mr. Dean. Please vote. Recognition, appreciation of years of service for outgoing District 11 board member Shane Cheatham. Mr. Cheatham, will you come please?
Mr. Cheatham served on the board for 6 years. He was a former president of the Bossier Parish School Board, and we would like to present him with this plaque at this time. It says, "Thank you for your years of service and dedication to the Bossier Parish School Board, Mr. Shane Cheatham, January 2015 to June 2021. Cheatham is known for being direct, honest, committed, passionate, intense, and very, very ardent in his beliefs, and he's always had a willingness to be vocal about those beliefs, and we are forever indebted to him for his service to the school system through some difficult times, and he was always steadfast and supportive, and he's been a tremendous asset and blessing to me personally. Thank you, Mr. Chief.
2 days in a row I get a mic. I promise to be short. Now, Mr. Bertrand, I will start out by saying that was a great speech, but next time I'll challenge you to speak from that heart a little more without those notes, because I'm known, that seat is known for somebody to go on about a 20-minute ramble from nothing. So you're challenged there a little bit. But Mr. Bertrand, thank you for stepping up for our district and for the people of South Bossier. I appreciate you. I have no doubt that you'll do a great job sitting in that chair, and you'll do what's right for not only the children and the parents in Bossier Parish, but as well for our employees, our teachers, our bus drivers, everyone. To the board, thank you. The relationships and the friendships that I've made with this board, even through some of the challenging times we've had, I will always cherish them. I'll always cherish talking about airlines, library with Mr. Bullard. I will appreciate everything that each of you have done for this parish. I know there's a few other board members that I served with that are no longer here, but I can tell you, everybody sitting around that horseshoe wants what's best for Bossier Parish schools and for our community. And to me, that means an awful lot. So thank each of you for letting me serve with you, and to everyone out here, thank y'all for allowing me. Principal Williams, you know I love Parkway High School. I'm still right around the corner if you need something. I'm not going to go away. Say that a little bit louder. I'm not going to go away, whether it's from the school system, the city. I'm gonna continue to fight for our community, and I look forward to the future. Look forward to watching you guys, whether it's on YouTube or coming back here to these meetings. But thank y'all very much for honoring me tonight, and thank y'all very much for the friendships and just for everything that y'all done for Bossier Parish. Thank y'all very much.
Mr. Van
I believe Mitch held back a lot of words when he's using the adjectives to address what Shane Cheatham was on this board. That was his year 3 and year 4. You guys know those adjectives. Year 1 and 2 were a lot different. But Shane, it was an honor to serve with you, buddy. Just always had Bossier City, Bossier Parish, the school system. Never made a decision without a whole lot of thought to it. So we appreciate your leadership in that. Brought us through some very tough times on the board, some lawsuits, and you name it. You were there through the thick and thin of this thing. So, man, we appreciate your service to this parish and everything that you meant. And Robert Bertrand, please don't take in that challenge for a 20-minute ramble. Those tiny shoes over there to sit over your thing that change that vibe for you. So, huge shoes over there. You're going to do a great job, Mr. Bertrand, and we look forward to working with you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. We really do appreciate your service. And I guess he didn't say common sense, but I think you have a lot of common sense, and I appreciate what you brought to this board and your leadership and just your knowledge, and look forward to what you do in the future with that. 2.02, recognition, newly appointed administrators presented by Superintendent Downing.
Thank you, President Smith. We have several this evening. First of all, the selection for the new principal at Elm Grove Middle School, Mr. Michael Pedrotti. Pedrotti is a transplant to Louisiana, went to college in Minnesota, graduated from school in Illinois. He's got his family here tonight. He's been in public education for 12 years. Began in Caddo and then made his way over to Bossier. He's got Previous stops at Holden Middle, Benton Middle, Airline High, and we're excited about the potential that Mr. Pedrodi has to make a huge difference at Elm Grove Middle.
Superintendent Downing, President Smith, and members of the board, I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve as Elm Grove's principal. It's about 2 years ago in a similar setting to this that I stood up here and I was trying to express how grateful I was to the gentleman who had given me my step as assistant principal, and said I was really looking forward to working with Miss Lee and Mr. I could not come up with his last name. I asked the first name, but it didn't sound right to say Mr. Rick. So I just kind of hemming and hawing, and like Dr. Gujwa was over there, she's like, Warren! So maybe I was a little nervous at the time. Rick was just the latest in a long line of excellent administrators that I've had the blessing to work with the time that I've been here at Bossier Parish. The first was Mr. Rowland, who hired me. And I learned from him the importance of a leader's ability to motivate the people that that work for him to do whatever it takes to get the job done. He's excellent at that. I'm going to try to emulate that the best I can. And then, Dr. Machin hired me at Middle, and I appreciated his vision. Like, he always kept his mind on the things that matter the most to move student learning. His focus on whatever it took to get that job done. And then last couple of years with Mr. Warren, I appreciated his attention to detail and his systems thinking. He's excellent at seeing a problem before it actually eventuates and having a plan in place before he needs it. So over the coming years, I'm going to do my best to emulate the leadership of those gentlemen. And if I'm able to do that, we're going to do great things in South Bossier. I'm really looking forward to working with the folks that are on my team down there. I see that they've got great people. It's a great community. We're going to do whatever it takes to move students in that neighborhood. I've already gotten to know them a little bit over the last 5 weeks, and I appreciate their openness and their willingness to embrace change. And we're going to do great things. So I'm ready to get working. Thank you.
Our next honoree is the new Supervisor of Career and Technical Education, Mr. Jeff Holden. Mr. Holden taught science and engineering at Parkway High for 10 years. Before becoming the Bossier Parish Science Curriculum Coordinator, he's since served in another district as a STEM coordinator, STEM specialist for the Louisiana Department of Ed. He has his family here, and in his free time he plays at the family farm in East Texas. And we are looking forward to great things from Jeff Holcomb. I had an opportunity to work with him at Parkway, and he's a very impressive individual. Mr. Holcomb.
Thank you, Mr. Downey. I feel like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. I took a little foray to the state of Louisiana for a bit, but I was able to put my heels together 3 times and make it back home, and Bossier really is home to me. And to quote Dorothy, there's no place like home, and it's great to be back home with all my people in Bossier. I'm really looking forward to all the great things we're going to do for the students and children of Bossier Parish. So I'm going to thank the board, Mr. Downey, Dr. Gujwa, Mr. Rowland for this wonderful opportunity. And of course, I want to thank my wife, Randy, and my son, Jackson, for the support that they have given me throughout the years with this as well. Thank you very much.
Next, we have the new assistant principal at Airline High School, Miss Leslie Bailey. Bailey is a product of Bossier Schools. She became a part of the first cohort for LSU's Educational Leadership Program. Graduated with a master's in 2008. Started her teaching career at Curtis. She's there for 8 years. She's been an instructional coach at Legacy for the last 7 years, and now she moves on to Airline High School. Miss Bailey.
Thank you, President Smith and Board, and Superintendent Downey, Mr. Rowland, and Dr. Bourgeois. I'm very excited about this opportunity that you have given me. I have my family here today with me. The first teachers, the best teachers, my parents, Dr. Bruce Bruyette and my mother, Marcia Bruyette. They have supported me from the beginning, and I am here today because of that guidance and their faith. I also have my brother here, who's Dr. Andrew Bruyette, who's also a product of Bossier Parish Schools. I have two beautiful girls. One is here with me, Charlie Kate, and she's about to start her journey in Bossier Parish Schools next year when she starts kindergarten. So she's very excited about that. And my husband, Calvin Bailey, but he's not here today. I'm very excited for this opportunity that I have been given to serve as assistant principal at Airline High School. I cannot wait for what the future holds. I've been very lucky to have amazing educational leaders along my professional career that have been here since Bossier Parish. I know without a doubt they have prepared me for this moment and this role as assistant principal. I also look forward to being with Coach James and Coach Stoll, and we're missing one of our sidekicks to Coach Wynn tonight. I think we're going to make a very dynamic team over there at Airline High School that will help fulfill everything we need for our students and our teachers and our community partners. So I look forward to this next school year. Thank you.
Next, we have the new assistant principal at Holden Middle School, Mr. Mark Braden. Braden has 23 years experience in education, taught history and PE in middle school and high school at Camp Shree, Broadmoor, Keithville Elementary, been at, I believe, Holden. Don't have that. Mr. Braden, do you have a family?
Thank you, Superintendent President Smith. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you, and it's a great opportunity to serve the Holden community. First of all, I wanted to introduce my wife, Beth. She's here with me. She's a career educator in another system. Thank you for being here and supporting tonight. It's interesting the people you meet along your journey. I'm here with two other honorees tonight, Mr. Brody and Mr. Holden. My wife and I talked to Mr. Holden when he was a first-year teacher, when he was coming up, and then also my wife talked with Mr. Brody his first year. So it's interesting how we all kind of come back together. Mr. Brody said something that I'm extremely excited about. I wanted to thank Mr. Warren, didn't remember his name, for the opportunity to come to Holden and work with him. I'm extremely excited about that. I met Rick when we were doing our master's classes together, and the thing that Mike said about him, his attention to detail, is I've worked with him and been on a trip with him this short amount of time since I've been hired, and that's what I'm wanting to learn from him, is that attention to detail about moving students forward. So again, thank you very much for this opportunity. I look forward to serving the families and the students and the greater community of Holden. Thank you.
Next, we have our new administrative assistant at R.V. Kerr Elementary School, Ms. Stormy Feibel. Feibel's been in education for 16 years. Prior to that, she was Arkansas State Parole Probation Officer. She worked for Bossier Parish Schools for 6 years at Parkway as a family consumer science teacher. Ms. Feibel.
Thank you, Superintendent Downey. Thank you, Board. Thank you, Dr. Bourgeois, Mr. Rowland. I could sit here and name so many people that has impacted my life in this room. I came 6 years ago. I was hired by Dr. Bourgeois. I wasn't even supposed to be in the country, but things happened, and I was actually here, and she called me, and I was so excited to join her team. She is an amazing leader, and I hope to be as great as she is. When I interviewed for her, I walked in, and there were 11 people there. So, of course, my heart was racing like it's racing right now. And when I sat down, Miss Abney is amazing. And she just has this peace and calmness about her. She has a vision for her that is amazing. She is a strong leader, and I look so forward to working with her. I've been up there actually since I was hired. I was hired, I went up there the next day, and I've been there every day but Friday to try to soak in everything I can. So I look forward to working with her and Ms. Sullivan and leading her to follow her vision. So thank you again. Oh, my family. I'm sorry. My family. I have my husband who has blessed me so much. He prays for me daily, and without his prayers, I wouldn't be here. And then I have 2 of my 6 children. Yes, 6. They're here. I've got my 2 cabooses. So thanks. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, President Smith, Superintendent Downey, board members. Tonight we have a special announcement to bring to you. The Bossier Parish School Board Naming Committee met on July 7th here at the BIC, and with the objective of naming one of our parish athletic facilities. The committee members were Bossier Parish School Board and Parkway alumni Shane Cheatham, former assistant principal and current airline principal Mr. Justin James, community member and former Parkway alumni Laban Levy, board appointed and former Elm Grove principal Mr. Bobby Marlowe, former Parkway principal and current director of student services Miss Betty McCauley, community supporter and board supporter Mr. Doug Rogers, and myself made up the board policy committee. Ms. McCauley, the principal that hired the guy we're going to talk about tonight, made the motion on that afternoon to name the field at Parkway High School's baseball facility, to name it Ronnie Coker Field. Wow. Mr. Cheatham seconded the motion, and the vote was unanimous. Unfortunately, Coach Coker cannot be here with us tonight, but he is on the Zoom with us up here. Coach, just wanted to let you know that all the committee members are here tonight, including some of your players. Jarvis Landry's here, former coaches. Coach Todd Sharp is here. Coach Stephen Burke is here. And Coach Jeremiah Williams is here. So, Ms. Smith, what's the pleasure of the board?
I would gladly make the motion to name Parkway's baseball field and Ronnie Coker Field.
Second by Mr. Fuller. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Coker, got a field named after you.
That's just so incredible. Mr. Downey, thank you, Tammy, or President Smith, sorry, Mr. Rowland, Dr. Bourgeois, and the rest of the board. Thank y'all so much. I'm speechless, and things like give God all the glory. Stuff like this doesn't happen because of me. Stuff like this happens because the kids, the administrators, the coaches that I've been so blessed with and so grateful for the opportunity that I can work alongside of. But Ms. Smith, for President Smith, this is just humbling. And I really can't grasp this right now. It's just so humbling. But thanks again. Thank all of y'all. And congratulations to all the administrators that got named tonight. Hey, it'd be great. Win today.
Coach. Coach.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? They didn't tell you
Yes,
you
sir.
have to mow it and maintain it.
Hey, well, Coach Short's in attendance, I think, and he'll tell you right now I'm a pretty good delegator, so, but I'll be glad to do whatever I need to do to help the community for sure.
Well deserved, Mr. Coker, and I think the committee made a great choice.
Thank you, President Smith. Hey, y'all be great, okay? Y'all keep making a difference, and wish y'all all nothing but continued success.
Thank you. Request proposal to bid the supervisors of maintenance and technology to a director status presented by Superintendent Downing.
Thank you, President Smith. This carrier sent you a copy, each board member a copy of the job descriptions. My request to the board is that those two positions be made director. I'll entertain any questions.
Motion by Ms. Dory, second by Mr. Manfire.
Thank you.
Report Exposure Strong School System Pilot Priority Initiative presented by Dr. Bushra, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, President Smith, Superintendent Downey, and board members. About a month ago, I came to you in collaboration with Mr. Downey to present the Bossier Parish School Strong School System Initiative, just to give you an overview of what we had signed up for with the State Department. If you could go to the next slide. Again, just an overview so you will remember. The Louisiana Department of Education invited 8 school systems or leadership teams to join the Strong School System Initiative pilot. This is a 3-year pilot, though we are planning for 5 years. And this pilot will strengthen school system leaders and school board members' capacity in the following areas: strategic planning, implementation of those strategic plans, progress monitoring through a cohort-based professional development team. We have technical assistance through a high-quality vendor provider, achievement network, and it will also provide for participation in in a network of peer leaders across the state, as well as the provision of tools and resources that will allow for us to implement our strategic plan. The Bossier Parish Steering Committee members include Superintendent Downey, Board President Tammy Smith. I am serving as the project manager. We also have on our team Ms. Lillian Holly, Mr. Waylon Bates, Ms. Kilmy Smith, as well as Dr. Kyle Machin and Ms. Andrea Spinney, most of whom are here tonight in support of this initiative and are present for any questions you may have that I may not be able to answer. Next. We've developed a strategic plan based on feedback and input from hundreds of our own stakeholders. We've done this in 4 phases. In phase 1, if you go to the very bottom, the top describes the phase, but what is important is the deliverables. So in phase 1, we had a stakeholder engagement plan and a project plan. In stage 2, or phase 2, we developed a diagnostic report identifying the strengths and challenges based on our stakeholders' engagement and focus groups as well as surveys. And in stage 3, we developed strategic priorities, initiatives, and deliverables, outcome goals, and decision-making rights. We are now in stage 4, the implementation plan, which we already have, and we are just waiting on the development of the dashboard, which will be a web-based site that the public can go to see our progress. Next slide. We examined several sources of data to produce the diagnostic, including outcome data, instructional quality reviews, and constituent perspectives. Under the performance data analysis, our technical assistance partner, Achievement Network, or ANET, reviewed publicly available performance data from the LDOE, Louisiana Department of Education. ANET also conducted an instructional quality review. ANET reviewed instructional artifacts as well as video recordings of math and ELA lessons across grade spans and schools within our district. And then ANET collected constituent perspectives, and these consisted of surveys that were shared with all Bossier staff and family members, and approximately 922 people ultimately participated, which Dr. Clarice Clash, who is in charge or the project manager of Achievement Network, and she and I work closely on a weekly basis together, so that was perhaps one of the largest sampled participatory groups that she's ever surveyed working in this capacity. We also identified students, parents, staff, administrators, and teachers to conduct focus group interviews. And from all of that information, we received an organizational diagnostic report, of which is over 100 slides. I can share that with you at another time. And I just want to be brief this evening and be able to allow enough time to answer questions. I do want to go to the next slide. The diagnostic ultimately identified several key strengths. One strength was that Bossier graduates a higher rate of its students on time compared to both the state and characteristically similar systems. Additionally, Bossier students outperform statewide averages. 6 schools made double-digit mastery gains in either ELA or math from the years 2018 to 2019. Students reported feeling comfortable at school, and parents reported appreciating the dedicated, high-quality teachers that we have on our staffs. The diagnostic also presented, if you go to the next slide, some key gaps. One gap is that most Bossier student groups outperform state averages in high school English and history exams, but within the system itself, the gaps are large. High school student math disparities are large for both Black and economically disadvantaged students. In ELA, almost all Bossier schools are lower performing than characteristically similar schools statewide. Additionally, we found that there are gaps and or disparities among Black and economically disadvantaged students in suspension data. And finally, parents name COVID learning gaps and teacher staff retention and pay as key issues. So with this information, you go to the next slide, as well as other information provided in the lengthy diagnostic report, the steering committee responded by drafting 4 strategic priorities for our district. Priority 1, we want to ensure equitable instruction that is grounded in the use of rigorous, high-quality curriculum and assessments. Priority number 2, we need to recruit, develop, and retain a talented, caring, diverse, underline diverse, and highly effective team of leaders, teachers, and support staff. Priority number 3, ongoing intentional development of competencies and practices related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And number 4, all Bossier schools have a welcoming, engaging, and inclusive environment. If you go to the next slide, this is an example of how our steering committee aligned the following initiatives for priorities number 1 and number 2. And essentially what you're looking at is what I just read in the bold black lines going across. And within those priorities, there's what we refer to as deliverables. And you can see we specify in the deliverables what exactly we're going to do under that particular priority. And then we have a timeline, which got cut off in this particular slide. The first colored line or column is year 1, which is the 21-22 school year. Year 2 is the second column, year 3, 3rd, 4, and then 5. So if you look at priority 1.1, develop school leaders' capacity and to lead high-impact instructional systems and protocols, and for example, observation and feedback, learning communities, and data-driven instruction, as well as student work analysis. I am the steering committee person in charge of that, and Dr. Kyle Machen, he is the one boots on the ground, getting the committees together, or getting the work groups together, and ensuring that all of these deliverables have an action, have at least 5 to 6 action steps associated with it. As he begins to work with his work group, it looks like he is planning on launching this particular action step or deliverable in years 1, 2, and 3, and begin the monitoring process in years 4 and 5. And you can go on, and I wanted you to have this in your hands so that at another time you can review it. And then if you have questions, you know I will always be available. If you turn the page and go to the next slide, you see priority 3 and priority 4. I want you to jump to priority 4. This is near and dear to me. You can see I'm not only the steering committee sponsor, but I also am the one boots on the ground for item 4.1 and largely 4.2 with the help of Lillian Holly and Andrea Spinney. And this is the priority where all Bossier schools have a welcoming, engaging, and inclusive environment for families and staff. We are developing, I have a committee of over 20 individuals, a very diverse group of individuals. It all has to do with family engagement. And in particular, let's look at 4.1. We want to expand opportunities for families to participate in school and system governance. And so we've already had 3 meetings, and in those 3 meetings, we've made a lot of progress. Essentially, we're going to pilot the work we are creating this year system-wide, and then we're going to launch for the next 4 years, and then begin to monitor thereafter. If you go to the next page, real briefly, this identifies 7 measures that we're going to use to assess the progress toward our mission. This is a progress monitoring tool, and you can go through those measures and see what our baseline is today and what our target will be in 2026. The next page. We'll later identify measures to assess progress toward our strategic priorities. I don't have a lot of information there. And then the last, I believe it's the last page before I ask for participants from our work group for priority 4 to come to the microphone and share some of their experiences. Okay, so again, this is my working document with my team. We are working on expanding the opportunities for families to engage in not only in school governance, but school system governance. Involving them in making the decisions with school leaders and with system leaders. And if you see, if you go across, you can see where I have the deliverables and then the action items. And if it has a Y and it's in green, that means those have already been accomplished. If it's red with an N, that means it's to happen or is in the process of going in that direction. I'm very excited about this particular opportunity that the state has provided, and I'm really holding back a little bit because I'm really giddy and excited about the progress that we have made and the relationships that we have built, particularly in this priority, strategic priority. And with that, if you'll go to the next slide, I'm going to ask any participant that from my committee, in particular, Mrs. Andrea Ashley, who has been there for every meeting, and again, we've had 3 meetings so far. We're meeting at a frequency of twice a month, once every 2 weeks. And if you'll come to the microphone and share your perspective of your work with our group and in this particular pilot initiative, and then if anybody else wants to make a comment, you are welcome to do so. Don't be shy.
Hi all. I just want to say that we're proud of Bossier Schools for what we are doing. We're having the conversations that needed to be had a long time ago. We're addressing concerns of parents that we don't normally hear or see or understand. To be in a room of parents, teachers, and principals where everybody is just listening and sharing, it's really rich, and it's needed all across the board. So I'm excited to be a part of it and to see these conversations grow and turn into not just a vision, but something that we can see and experience at every school throughout Bossier Schools, because there's a lot that's needed when it comes to removing boundaries and diversifying our schools, not just the teachers and administration, but truly implementing culture and all kinds of things. But I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, it's exciting. It's a lot of work. It seems like it's really simple. It is, but it's not, because it requires us to open our eyes, ears, hearts, and remove what we think we know and take the time to grow and to learn and to experience and to accept things that make us uncomfortable. That's the major thing. So that's it.
Do you have to do any homework?
Yeah, we have homework. We read, and it feels like we're in school, because yesterday was awesome. We got in little focus groups, and we became actors, and we sang and we clapped, but we learned a lot from different perspectives, and we were able to truly walk in the shoes of others. So I'm excited to see that not just be a conversation, but to grow into something that's just the norm of Bossier Schools.
I knew Ms. Ashley could say it much better than I can. I was just giving you a report, and I'm trying to be real, professional, but that emotion and that just, you have to be there to feel the power of groups working together, groups of diversity across our district who are taking their own time to show up. And they do have a lot of homework. We have a book that they have to read, and it has to do with engaging families in our community, and the PLC, which is the system that our instruction is built upon. And we have many members in the audience. Can you raise your hand, please? Yeah, we got a lot of people here to help support what we're doing. And if there's anything any of you would like to add, now's your time. Okay, they're ready to get out of here. So, last slide. Thank you, Ms. Ashley. That was very powerful. All right. Thank you. Unless you have any questions.
I'm just going to say, serving on this committee, it is, I know it's a huge time commitment to every committee member has served, and the time that's been on it. I have not been able to make every single conference call, but just the hours. And Dr. Braden, for your leadership on that. It amazes me the talent that we have within our parish. And, a lot of times they're going, what are they talking about? So I keep my face off. I'm scared it's going to show on my face. But anyway, it's really amazing to hear every committee member and the input that's there. And it is open and honest communication. And it has highlighted the strengths and areas for improvement that we need to address. And I think that we've talked about several of those. And Superintendent Downey's had this time that's been on there. Y'all, these are 4-hour Zoom conferences. They are long. and it is continuous communication back and forth with each curriculum. But thank y'all for your dedication and the extra hours, because I know that is taken away from things that you need to be doing at this time of year, so you're having to do it sometimes. So thank you for your dedication and communication across the parish.
Hats off to Dr. Bourgeois. She's poured a lot of time and energy and commitment to this. As much time as we're spending with this, I think she's spending triple and quadruple that amount of time to try to decrease some of the time that we're having to spend on it. But it is well worth the effort. We've all made the commitment to be honest and truthful about the areas where we can improve. And I think that Bossier Schools is going to benefit greatly from our involvement in this. But I will say this, kind of tongue-in-cheek, feels like I got a part-time job. Because some of those Zoom calls, I don't know if you've ever been on a Zoom call that lasts over 3 hours, but it's pretty taxing. It's difficult to do anything else, even though you're on Zoom, because you have to stay constantly engaged. But I don't think a lot of people recognize the effort that Dr. Bourgeois has put in to this pilot and the many other things that she's responsible for. So thank you for your time and your effort and your commitment to Bossier Schools.
And your other job,
Are the parents of this committee, Dr. B?
Oh, yes, ma'am. We have more than half. I think I counted 29 to 30 today, and probably 25 are parents.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I know I turned in.
They're not all showing up,
Okay.
but like Miss Ashley, she's there every single time.
Okay.
And I've invited her to, like, when I'm about to talk about the pupil progression plan, the parent meeting. Several of those parents have shown up for that as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
any other comments or questions? And then we'll back up and go to 3.03 that I skipped, I'm sorry. Request for approval of the pupil progression plan for 21-22 presented by Dr. B, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction.
Thank you, President Smith, Superintendent Downey, and board members. I have presented you both an electronic copy prior to this meeting and a print copy for your preview. I just want to make a couple of notes for the record. There was an Educator Committee meeting that was held on June 30th, 2021. This is a requirement from the Bessie Board and the State Department. We also had a Parent Educator Committee meeting that was held the very next day, July 1st, 2021. The parents present included Ola J. Harris, Zandra Ashley, and Beverly Frazier. We had a public review of the pupil progression plan for this coming year. This was held on July 6th to the 8th, 2021, physically at the BIC, and this year we also made it available in draft form on our website, where we had several hits from what I have heard. Everything printed in black in the pupil progression plan is directly from the framework of the State Department. That's part of Act or Bulletin 1566. And everything that is printed in blue represents the additions that Bossier Parish schools are either required to provide or given an opportunity to provide. And were mostly copied from last year's pupil progression plan. The changes you might be interested in are as follows. The LDOE added a credit recovery courses and units section on page 10. The LEA, which is Bossier Parish, was required to insert our credit recovery policy and program, which is found on pages 10 and 11. The alternative program placement now includes the Bossier Schools Virtual Learning Program, also known as BSBLP. This is found on pages 14 and 15. Designated courses, that chart has been updated. For instance, for middle schools, we used to call the advanced English and math classes pre-AP, meaning pre-advanced program, because there was copyright laws that wouldn't allow us to call it pre-advanced placement, but it was still too close because it still read pre-AP. So we had to change it to read APP, which means Advanced Preparation Program, and the teachers received the training of the pre-AP courses, but because it is not blessed by College Board, we had to change the name. And we've also added the pre-educator program at Bipstal, and some additional pre-AP classes such as physical science and physics were removed. This information can be found on page 18. A quality point scale was added on page 20 to clarify to schools, teachers, and parents how all of that falls out, what quality points is associated with A, B, C, D, and F. And then finally, the valedictorian and salutatorian calculation to the 4th decimal point instead of the 2nd decimal point will be in effect starting within the 2021-2022 freshman class. This can be found on page 21. And that concludes my report on the pupil progression plan that we have submitted for the year 2021-2022.
Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Braden, second by Ms. Darby. Please vote. Motion passes.
Thank you.
3.05 request, approval of new policy GBCA, protection of criminal background information, presented by Sherry Poole, Director of Human Resources.
Good evening. Superintendent Downing, President Smith, members of the board. We come to you today asking you to approve a new policy that we need to adopt in Bossier Parish to continue using our state police background check. There's new requirements that we have to put in place with this policy. Then we'll have written procedures that we've drafted if this policy is approved tonight. That we will also, new procedures will put in place so that we'll be in compliance with requirements that for the FBI and Criminal Justice Information Services policy, as well as the Louisiana Non-Criminal Justice Agency Guide. And by us adopting this, that shows them that we are going to follow our policy and the procedures that we will be required to do in order to continue our fingerprinting processes.
Motion to approve. Motion by Ms. Darby, second by Mr. Bullard. Please vote. Mr. Bullard. Please vote. Motion approved. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Poole. 3.06, Insurance Committee meeting held July the 8th, presented by Dennis Van Burton, chairperson.
The insurance committee met on July 8th at 4 o'clock. All committee members were present, as well as Amy Smith, Adam Bass, and Jacob Slack. We had 3 items that required board action. The first was the committee recommended that Bossier Parish School Board approve the reinsurance renewal for self-insured plan with BCS as presented.
This is out of committee. Please vote. Motion approved. 3.05.
The second item was that the committee recommended that the Bossier Parish School Board approve the cyber insurance renewal with an increased $2 million limit for an additional $15,834 in premium as presented.
This is out of committee. Please vote. Motion passes.
And lastly, the committee recommended that the Bossier Parish School Board approve the student accident insurance renewal as presented.
This is our committee, please vote. Motion passes.
Madam Chairperson, that concludes my report.
Thank you. 3.10 report, Finance Committee meeting held July 13th, presented by Glenn Bullard, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam President. The Finance Committee, which is a committee of the whole, all members of the board are included, met on July the 13th at 6 p.m. to consider the following items. Item number 1, the committee recommends the Bossier Parish School Board grant permission to advertise the original budget for the school year 2021-2022. This item was passed unanimously.
This is our committee, please vote.
Item number 2, the committee recommends the Bossier Parish School Board approve back-to-school check guidelines and 13th check guidelines as were presented. It passed unanimously.
This is our committee, please vote.
Committee recommends Bossier Parish School Board approve option 1 salary schedule for 2021-22 to include the additional funds approved by the Louisiana State Legislature and which were matched by the Bossier Parish School Board.
We do have one person who would like to comment, Sean Gard. Ms. Gard, you can have up to 3 minutes.
Listen, one of these days I'll come to town without notes. Good evening, board members. My name is Sean Gard. I'm a teacher at Sun City Elementary as well as the Secretary and Treasurer for Red River United. On behalf of the Bossier Federation members of Red River United, we wish to express our gratitude to this board and administration in addressing the need to keep qualified employees in our district. The state and local pay raise is just one more way to help achieve this effort. The union will always be willing to work with you as we work to fully staff our classroom and schools with caring and qualified employees. We do come to you today to address an issue we would like to bring to your attention. There is a need to clarify work hours and pay for many support employees. We are finding that a number of work sites are requiring support employees to report and dismiss, which require them to work longer hours than they should based on their salary schedule. We ask that the central office and school sites review this for clarification and correction if needed. And finally, we are proud to announce that Red River United has received a grant for back to school. This community outreach grant was written specifically for the Latino population within Bossier. We will be able to provide backpacks filled with classroom supplies as well as bilingual books. We are thankful for the assistance the Bossier administration has provided us in ensuring this outreach promotes literacy throughout the community. We have the giveaway tentatively planned for August 9th, but we're going to get back with you guys with all the particulars, and of course, we invite you to participate in the distribution. On behalf of the Bossier Federation members of Red River United, we thank you for your opportunity to bring these items to your attention this evening. Thank you.
This is out of committee. Please vote. Motion passes. Why did they clap?
I want to commend the board. I mean, we've been through the budgets, we've been through some battles, but we've continued to keep fighting for our employees, and this is just another step along that way. So I just want to tell each of you thank you for continuing to stay in there for our employees. We're not done, but we're getting closer every day. So.
Madam President, those are the items that require action by the board. The only other items on the agenda were for discussion only. No action is necessary. That concludes my report.
Thank you. 3.14, report, Beef Leaf Committee meeting held July 15th, presented by Dwayne Dean, chairperson.
Madam President, the Beef Committee met today at 4:45. All members were present except Ms. Darby. We missed you. We had a presentation presented by Dr. Bourgeois on the beef budget for 2021-22. The committee recommends that the Bossier Parish School Board approve the 21-22 beef budget as presented, and the motion passed the committee unanimous.
This is out of committee. Please vote. Does that conclude your report, Mr. Dean?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. 3.16, report, Building and Grounds Planning and Development Committee held July 15th, presented by Glenn Bullard, chairperson.
Thank you, Madam President. Before I begin my report, I must ask that we amend our agenda to reflect one item that was not properly stated in the agenda that we were presented with, namely the installation of football field goal at Parkway. It was listed on the agenda as discussion only, but it was an actionable item and action was taken. It's my understanding we have to approve that amendment and allow for public comment.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve? Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Slide.
Second.
Second by Mr. Van Bird. Please vote. Public comment. Anyone comment?
You don't have to ask for public comment until you add it to the items, then we have to ask for
Okay.
public.
All right. Please vote. Maybe I don't need to add it as a.
It's added now, public comment on that particular item.
Okay. So you want to start with point 1 first?
I will, thank you, and I apologize for the little technical glitch. The Building and Grounds Planning and Development Committee met today, July 15th, at 5 p.m. There were several items that require attention of the board. First item, the committee recommends the Bossier Parish School Board authorize the superintendent to enter into a local services agreement with the Bossier Parish Police Jury to improve off-site drainage at TL roads and Platt elementary schools and sign related documents funded by the 2012 bond construction program at a total Bossier Parish School Board cost of $75,000 plus the cost of a new playground fence. This passed unanimously.
This is out of committee. Please vote. Motion passes.
Item 2, the committee recommends the Bossier Parish School Board approve a 2020-21 Elm Grove HVAC change order for reinstallation of rooftop HVAC units at a cost of $108,797 funded by 2012 bond construction premium. This matter was approved unanimously.
This is out of committee. Please vote. Motion passes.
Item 3, the committee recommends the Bossier Parish School Board authorize permission to issue solicitations on all remaining Bossier Parish School Board storm damage repair projects with an insurance date of loss of April 24, 2020, funded by Insurance Fund 23. Again, this motion passed unanimously.
This is out of committee. Please vote.
Item number 4 in involved the approval of installation of a football goalpost at Parkway High School. And at this point, we would entertain public comment or questions. Thank you, ma'am. The committee recommends Bossier Parish School Board approve installation of football field goal posts at Parkway High School funded by 2012 Bond Construction Fund. This was passed unanimously.
Committee, please vote. Motion passes.
Other items on the agenda for today's meeting were for discussion only and no board actions required. Mr. Mike Hefner updated the committee on the 5-year student population projections. Some very interesting information. I've already had a couple of people approach me about where they can find this information so they can review it in detail. And it's my understanding it will be posted on our website within the next few days. It's a little frightening when you look at some of the projected numbers for some of our schools going forward. We still have growing pains. There was a 2012 bond construction update by Mr. Babineau on Benton Intermediate School, Cove Middle School, and Houghton High School wing. And finally, we had roof replacement updates on the various projects that are underway at this time from the hail and storm damage. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Bullard. 3.21, request changing the spring break dates for school year 21-22. This was asked to be on the agenda by Mr. Newman, who had to be out of town, so Superintendent Downey has completed.
Thank you, President Smith. Mr. Newman contacted us and requested this be put on the agenda. His concerns were related to when the spring break is scheduled to be in March, which is the first week of March. And then the test would be, under his understanding, the test would be administered the Tuesday that we came back. The previous Sunday is also daylight savings time. So I contacted our supervisor of accountability and testing, Dr. Debbie Gegg, and asked her to look into it, and she is here to present her recommendation based on her findings.
Superintendent, would you clarify? You said the test you're referring to?
ACT test, which she's going to clarify all the different options as far as dates.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Superintendent Downey and President Smith and board members. I'm here to provide information so you can make an informed decision whether or not to switch those 2 weeks. I do not recommend the change for a variety of reasons. This comes up pretty often. When we vote on a calendar, it's many months later before the state releases the state assessment calendar. And when the state releases the state assessment calendar, we can't control what the plan is. We just have to work around it. So we've been in this position before when the spring break occurs prior to the ACT, and actually this was last year. We were set to go to administer the ACT the Tuesday after spring break, and as you know, we didn't return to school. So all those booklets had to be returned. But that happens. It's like an every other year situation. But again, we work around it. It would be wonderful to take all assessments prior to a long break. For example, this coming up Thanksgiving, right after that, we fall into leave for high school testing. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. And our schools and our teachers do their very best to prepare for these things, knowing when there's a break, to front load material, whatever the case may be, to prepare the students. But what's different coming out for next year is how we're going to administer the ACT. In the past, we have chosen to give the paper test. That has been the preferred mode of assessment. But now it's changing to all online testing for ACT. And we're adjusting to that as well. And so with the online testing format versus the paper test, the paper test has always been a one-day assessment. We take the test one day, a week later, there's one makeup day, okay, for standard time testing. With online testing, we have a few windows to test within. And so next spring, in 2022, the first ACT window is March 8th through 10th. We will be on spring break. The next window is March 15th to 17th. We will be back from spring break. So it's my recommendation that we as a district choose March 17th, the last day in the first window, to give the ACT. Since it's an online test, and I can now call you Director Thompson, I'm confident that we have the technology to be able to administer the ACT to all 11th graders in the district on one day, including many of our 12th graders. So the ACT is not a one and done test. Our students have multiple opportunities to take the ACT as long as they take it before they graduate from high school. And we have the national test days too that families are able to sign up for. My own child will probably take the ACT. She'll be a junior next year a couple times prior to the March assessment. Okay, so basically the ACT delivered under the state administered model is a discounted rate. But in addition, there's 2 makeup windows next spring too, March 22nd to 24th and March 29th to 30th. So if a student is not comfortable coming back from spring break and taking the ACT, let's say March 17th, then there are makeup days. So there are plenty of opportunities, so I don't advise making the switch. We would be visiting this situation nearly every year. It happens quite often, but that's my recommendation. Do you have any questions?
I assume we can't use a makeup date as the test date.
Yes, you can.
Can?
Not for the whole district.
That's right, yeah.
Not for the whole district,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, we need to take advantage of those initial days.
Any other questions? I mean, my personal opinion is that we don't need to set a precedence for starting to change the schedule. I think ACT has changed their date. When I checked on this 4 or 5 times already this year, so who's to know if we change spring break, if that date won't be changed again prior to that. I know that with COVID and everything else, people are having difficulty on making arrangements, but people do kind of set their vacations and family trips and everything else, and I would hate I know it's 1 grade and the ACT is an important test, but there are multiple times that you can take it. I would hate for us to change that week when people may have already made arrangements and us upset 11 other grades. I'll entertain a motion. My personal opinion is that we should leave the calendar the way it is.
So how are we going to vote not to?
If you want to change it, if you don't take. If you don't want to change it, you don't take any action. If you'd like to change it to another week, then you can make a motion. Okay. No motion, so no change in the calendar. Thank you, Ms. Good. Approval of trip request. Mr. Mayor, these in order.
These are in order.
Motion by Mr. Manberg. Second by Ms. Brotherton. Please vote. Motion passes. Mr. Downey, any announcements?
Madam President, the next session of the board will be August 6th. Is that correct? August 5th at 6 p.m. here at the Vic. Registration for new and returning students is available online now through August 10th. August 12th is the first day for grades 1 through 12. And August 19th is the first day of kindergarten.
Where did the summer go? motion for the meeting to adjourn? I was just gonna make the motion. Mr. Slide, meeting to adjourn? Second by Mr. Fuller, please vote. Meeting adjourned.